Hello, fellow AFL enjoyers. We're back in a new studio.
Keeping everyone on their toes.
Exactly right. So this is the Coburg dining table studio. Different from the Bayside and the Pascoe Vale, the classic studio. A little bit different. It feels close than usual, so it's something different.
Intimate pod.
Yeah, 100%. We've got the tea ready. We've got Sheasel and Newcomb ready.
The
Let's go.
table's different, but the tea's the same. That's all that matters.
That is true. The tea, same tea. Shout out Bengal Spice.
Hey, was this like the best, worst round of all time?
Look, there was a lot of entertaining games, man.
A lot of entertaining games in the end, but like a lot of bad football being played all around, I would say.
True. Well, look, is there a score over 100?
No.
That's crazy.
Not even close. The highest score of the week was 81 by the Hawks.
And that was right at the start.
Right at the start. Sydney with the 80 in a boring game against Richmond.
Mm.
And this afternoon's game was good. D's v Collingwood, probably the game of the round.
Yeah, no, that was end to end. That was a really cool game.
Not to say like they were bad games. Like as a spectacle, if you're sitting watching, like you find some fun in the close games.
Of course, yeah.
But like in terms of quality of football, like compared to what it's been this year, very high scoring games. It was a bit of a shit one.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. And we'll start off the shit round with the Bulldogs and the Hawks. And look, see, I think in hindsight, now that I look at this game, I feel like it's such a big game for both teams. I didn't think it at the time for the Dogs, but now that you look back at it and it's like all the teams that they've lost against, they've been tough teams and they haven't been able to get, they haven't been able to beat one. It's actually a bad loss for them.
And they're not in the 8. And this is the thing, I think I've flagged it a week or two ago on the pod where I said, everyone's raving about the Dogs and so was I.
Yeah.
And then you look at the ladder, you're like, hang on a second, these guys aren't where you think they are. And they've been very good in spurts, but games like this show, and now they're sitting in 9th. Equal points with the Bombers, a win above the Blues. Like, is that really like the vibe you would think based on the chat and based on your eye test is like, nah, these guys are pushing more like a top 4 team, top 6.
That's the vibe. That's how it's felt. And I think it's because they've had so many games that are close. Like we'll go through them like just quickly here. So Collingwood, they lost by a goal.
That was a stiff one.
And they should have won, right? Fremantle's probably the worst loss that they had, but it was at Optus by about 3 goals.
And in hindsight now, that was a bad Freo team at the time. They weren't in form.
Yeah.
But now you're looking at it like, okay, that makes sense that they lose that one.
Exactly right. Brizzy at that was gather round, fair enough. The next loss. So Gold Coast at Darwin. So they don't usually win. Like Gold Coast are good over there. Geelong, fair enough. Yeah, and then now the Hawks. It's just
I mean, like it doesn't look that bad when you read it out like that. But then you look at the ladder, like ultimately that's all that matters.
Exactly right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's a bit of a problem. But look, they're going to get Darcy back, which very likely next week, and that's a huge in.
Correct.
But
and Treloar, first game back from injury. Their defense, I'm not sure what to make of it. You look at guys like Liam Jones, they're not at full power. They can be more. O'Donnell did his thing.
I was going to say O'Donnell was huge.
He was great.
I loved his efforts, man. Like the intercepting and you know. But they're not at full strength by choice. They played Gardner over Liam Jones and.
That's what I'm saying. What's going on there? There's more power to be unlocked.
Yeah, 100%.
And then you look at like Karmas has been playing forward. I thought he started the season all right down back. So I'm not sure. He can't help himself. Like the team's going well, and he's just got his contract extension. Now he's throwing the old dartboard around.
He just loves shifting. He just loves shifting magnets, man. He gets excited. But look, I think part of Buku going forward, and at one stage Lob went forward. That's because look, no Darcy doesn't help their cause, And if Norton's not really getting the job done,
which is most of the time. You know how I feel about
that. 100%. But of course, it's an issue.
Let's talk about the Hawks though, right? So Hawks come out 5-goal first quarter. And you see straight away when Guinea's scoring off a high tackle, you're like, okay, here we go.
This is what they want, man. This is the game plan for them.
And then Weddle with that awesome break out the middle, goal from 50. Man. You're looking at that, you're like, if Hawks are going to win this one, this is the start they wanted. And then you read things after the game. It's like, oh, they had a open meeting where they aired the grievances during the week. Mouth guards to training. Like it's kind of like, they were going to win this one. Unless the Dogs are really, really good, which they weren't. So
100%. Look, with Weddle, you bring him up. That goal was stunning, but his game in its entirety was epic.
He was everywhere.
And the thing that I find like an ultimate show of respect. This was from Bevo. Bevo mentioned him post game interview and said, "We had to move Lob forward because we're struggling with Weddle." It's like, bro, teams are starting a game plan for this guy.
That's crazy.
Because, or they have to change their plan mid-game. Shows how important that dude is. And maybe the Sicily role should be his and, Sicily go back forward,
Well, it is telling that the breakout games is when he's not in, right?
Yeah.
Look, I think you got to make it both. Both can be in the team. Clearly, Weddle has more running power. So that's got to be his role. It's probably at the sacrifice more of like a Jath or guys like that are getting up and down the ground.
Yeah, but he was good at the intercept and the aerial stuff as well. So I think it's just...
You can have more than one of those guys, though.
Yeah, true.
In Geelong's is basically they take turns doing it. So,
yeah, that's true.
It can happen.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So that was, big effort from him. Chol needs a bit of a...
Your boy Marbior.
My boy Marbior, man. He deserves the flowers this round. That mark with the, running with the flight, unbelievable.
He doesn't always go in that hard, but when he does, you're like, yes,
that's
you can do it.
Exactly. That's what we want to see. This is what the midweek, team talks. This is what it's for. It's to see Chol go in like that. 4 goals as well. So he had a great game. Your boy and my boy, Josh Ward.
He's my boy now.
He's your boy now in draft. I feel like I've said ages ago, mini Will Day.
Yeah, the only thing he lacks that Will Day has is that absolute power running with the ball.
Yeah.
But his disposal is up there with one of the most reliable in the league right now. Doesn't bite off too much. He always keeps it safe, but like his handballs are sharp, kicks are sharp, get to where they need to be real quick.
Lefty.
Like what more do you want?
Lefty,
and
man.
for someone who's been in the league, like 3 or so years now, maybe 4, he's looking ready-made. Like this is genuinely the breakout sort of year now.
Yeah, look, Cam McKenzie kind of had the role ahead of him, at the start of the season. But now I think Josh Ward, it's his now. That midfield is Newcomb, who was great as well, 10 clearances. It's Warple, who I think got subbed, but he was injured, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was struggling with an injury. Connor Nash, he was good as well, coming back from his suspension. He's given, he's a bit of grunt in there as well. So, it was a great game for them.
And with Warple, though, if he's going to be leaving, which there is heavy talk he will, and they'll have, inside word on this, obviously. If they know that he's leaving, you got to make way. Start playing Ward as much as you can in the 100%. Role you see him playing next year and beyond.
Because then, look, at the end of the year, Will Day comes back, and then all of a sudden it's Newcomb, Will Day, Josh Ward. It's not bad, man.
Throw McKenzie, like you said. You can put a number of guys on board. Nash, Dylan Moore. None of them mightn't be like proven year-long A graders now. We know they've got A grade potential.
Yeah.
But hey, you're starting a team off like that, moving into an era potentially. That's going to be good.
Yeah, 100%. Impey going forward right at the end of the game, I feel like that sparked them quite nicely. Like he scores his goal. I feel like it worked out for him that he just had that class to sort of get involved in scoring chain. So I like that as well.
I like putting him forward and keeping Hardwick back. Because Hardwick's been, in my opinion, a bit of a handful up forward, but the forward line hasn't been as scary as it was in this game. It was a bit more dangerous, a bit more speed and such that like an Impey can give. So I'm a fan of just leave Hardwick down back. He's a decent user. He's strong, competitive. You don't need that guy up forward, in my opinion. Although that's not disrespecting his craft. I think he's actually a half decent forward.
Yeah.
But I think the way the Hawks play, they've got a lot of attacking defenders that are small. I think having a just defender back there is good.
Yeah, no, that's true. Thoughts, Ginny?
No problem whatsoever, man. No, whatsoever.
Okay.
I wish more players would provide the entertainment he does.
Look,
to be honest with you.
Fair enough. Look, what I will say, there was a player, I got to remember who it was, who did the same thing, a similar thing.
Did I call him out?
No.
Oh, shit.
No. This is not me calling you out. There was another player who had a similar run into the goal, and instead of doing
in the Carlton game.
In the Carlton game, that's what it was. Was it Zach Williams?
Yes.
Zach Williams, celebrating with the crowd.
Yeah.
I like that better. I like that much better.
I like both. I'm not saying
Fair.
Williams is in the wrong. I liked what he did. There's very few moments in the game where you can do that. In fact, it's the only moment in the game where you can do that.
That is true.
Unless you're like when Franklin ran on the wing and in the Essendon game years ago. And then
Kale Hooker type vibes. Yeah.
If you're doing that and he happened to just do one of these to the crowd, like that's also cool. But like you're not doing it in that moment. You can only really chill when you're like, I know this is going in.
No, 100%. I guess it's like NBA players putting a bit of mayo on the dunk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's fair enough.
Look, it's not like he's playing futsal or soccer and he's running into an open goal and gets down and like headbutts the ball in. Like if you did that,
that's wrong.
That's a bit. You're getting 2-footed after
Mate,
that.
100%. If there was ever a reasonable time to fight in futsal,
Yeah. That's the one. But no, so for me, it's not that bad to just show the ball to your opponent. The funny thing for me though is that the Hawks got real pissed when Willie Rioli did it. That's where I see like. Now there was a bit of other stuff going on that game, but like. If you're going to get pissed at your opposition doing it and then you do it, that's a bit weird.
That's fair.
But as a general vibe, like next week, if we're about to beat Freo at Optus and like Cam Zohar does that, I'm all over it. I'm not upset. I'm not saying he shouldn't have done that.
No, fair enough. Look, we'll move on to the next game.
Yes.
Adelaide versus Brisbane. And so this game was just, it was a weird game. It was a weird game. And especially right at the end when Brisbane just, they did a North Melbourne and they didn't know how to win, basically.
Which is weird for a team that won the premiership last year.
I know, legit. Zach Bailey, 2 out on the full.
That was disgusting, man.
It's just not the play you would expect it from, bro.
And the kind of misses where, like, with each kick, you can kind of see him trying to correct the other kick's mistake, and then he'd go overcorrect the other way. It's like textbook, no confidence. It's like what Zach Fisher did in the North game.
Oh, bro.
This one here, I didn't kick hard enough, so this one I'm going to kick way too hard, and then this one I'm going to kick too much. Anyway, poor. It was really bad.
Yeah, but look, it's on my notes of Bailey Khadia.
He was Khadia.
He was. Anyway, but yeah, look, credit to Adelaide. Now, the moment of the game that changed the whole game, the boxing glove.
Huge.
The boxing glove sign. And basically this is my interpretation of the boxing glove sign. It's like, boys, put the Rocky music in your head. The violins are coming out and you're starting to punch back. You know what I mean?
Go on the distance, boys.
Distance, boys. That's the vibe I got. Whatever it was, I don't know. Maybe it wasn't Rocky related. Whatever it did.
It's got to do with like toughen up, sort of, surely something like that.
Yeah, it must be.
But there's some things that they do which is like unspoken. Like surely you don't have to remind your guys, hey, go in hard now.
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about?
That is true. Like, I don't know. Maybe sometimes you need that trigger. You know what I mean? You just need that little bit of a reminder.
When did those signs come into the game, by the way?
It feels recent.
It does,
doesn't it?
For me, it just seems like the weirdest. Was it during COVID?
I don't know.
When it was like no runners potentially on the field? Were runners still a thing?
I can't remember, man. That whole time period's kind of wiped from my brain.
And the only time
that premiership doesn't count, but anyway.
The only time I like seeing the sign is it doesn't count. The only time I like seeing the sign is like saying, hey, there's 2 minutes to go. Or like a 5-minute warning. Like otherwise, like if the players say, oh, hey, 2 minutes, we're losing, clearly that means, hey, boys, attack mode or whatever you're going to do. Or defense if you're winning. I don't see this like signal thing like, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
They're just dumb.
Nah, that's fair. But look, Adelaide, they're here. They're here to stay, man. There was a little moment where we were a bit concerned about them. They get a big win against Brisbane, even though Brisbane, like we said, they didn't want to win for some reason.
Well, Dawson takes that huge grab. Obviously, they start the last quarter hot, and then he does that.
Yeah, he bruises Thilthorpe, but I think he'll forgive him for that one.
Oh, he was laughing. Did you see Thilthorpe laugh? As soon as he turned around and saw that it was him that marked it, he's laughing already.
Yeah, he's like, okay, I'm going to be on a poster. That's fine. That's fine.
That's getting printed out for the locker room. That's for sure.
100%. Nah, that was Dawson doing stuff like that. It just shows. I feel like a lot of people have considered him the best captain in the AFL. I think it's fair enough, man. That's some serious. That's a captain's goal. It's a captain's mark.
Hey, can I shout out someone here now?
100%.
Career best form, Josh Rochelle.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I'll read out his game so far this year. 2 goals, 21 touches in round 1.
Yeah.
Or their first game, rather. 16 touches, 4 goals. Then he goes no goals, poor game against North. In saying that, they did enough to win anyway, of course. Matter, Sorry, he had 40% time on ground. He got subbed off. That's right. He had the big hit by, was it Sherry? Probably.
Sounds about right. That does sound right.
So he comes off in that game, no impact, right? Then when he's back a couple rounds later, he goes a goal and 9 touches, so slow, but then he's back. 19 touches, 2 goals, 7 touches, 2 goals. And the last couple of weeks now, right? So 1 goal, 5 goals, 3 goals, 3 goals.
Yeah.
So he's taken a few weeks to get back into the swing of things post-injury, but before the injury and after, now he's settled. elite performers. Like this is the kind of forward player they were drafting.
Yeah,
pretty
100%.
much this. Like if he doesn't even improve beyond this, what a player.
Oh, 100%. And look, just that goal on its own from the boundary.
Crazy.
Stunning goal, man. Stunning goal.
Big
and it's
moments.
Just, exactly. That's what it is. Big moments. Because it was like the whole round, low scoring game. His 3 goals at the times that they were scored, huge.
Yep.
So, great game from Rochelle as well. Ben Keys, another great performance, man.
When he plays well, he really plays well, doesn't he?
No, 100%. He's just barometer for this team, man. Big barometer for this team. So, look,
who was the original barometer at Brisbane?
Oh, I can't remember. Matheson.
He's the Matheson of Adelaide, but better.
Exactly, but actually a good footballer and like a seriously good footballer. What was his scoring? I was going to say scoring involvements. He had to be at top. Yeah, eight scoring involvements for him, man. He's going. How many assists did he get? 1 goal assist. I swear it felt like he did more. But again, he actually 3 goals. No, I'm saying 3 goals, a goal assist, and 8 scoring involvements. Yeah, he's a gun. That was a great game for him.
Awesome.
Yeah. Jump into look. Richmond versus the Swans. This game I was watching very closely because I brought in Angus Sheldrick from in draft, and I wanted to see what he does. I wanted to see what Callum Mills was doing for Supercoach. I wanted to see what Brodie Grundy, my boy, in draft was doing.
You would have been quite happy with this game.
100%. He's back in career best form, man. He's back. I think this is peak Grundy, and this is kind of what this is what we should be expecting from him, and I think they'll be happy now. Sydney with this situation with him, it was a buy low situation. It really never should have gone poorly, but now it's like it's an A++ move. Blakey coming up the ground was good for Sydney as well. I feel like we never really see him actually getting possessions up the field, and he actually got a goal as well. You know what I mean? So I think that helps them a lot as well.
But he needs the ball in his hand. This guy,
he does.
There's so many games. I'm just looking: 11 touches, 19, 13. 18, 17, those teens disposals or less is not on, like in terms of a Sydney team, you need him getting the ball at least 20 plus times.
100%.
Ideally closer to 25, 30. So
there's no player for them like that's close at the minute to that type of damage that he has. Gordon, he's out. When he comes in, he probably brings that as well. You could argue Heaney, but it's sort of different. You know what I mean? It's not the kicking ability. And Warner the same. It's not the kicking ability. It's just the fact that they can, use their strength and pace to sort of, break some lines, and, Heaney does some freaky things. So, but good game for them. This might sound a bit weird, and I think karma for me for even thinking this after the game, but seeing Richmond get smashed made me think I'm kind of glad in a way because they haven't experienced a rebuild yet. I want them to feel the pain that we felt a little bit. In saying that, it must have been karma because we were tortured. We were tortured in our win. So I feel like I've got to roll it back on the hating of other teams.
Yeah.
I've got to be
We've got our own problems in-house.
Yeah, no, exactly. I've got to be more of an enjoyer. Look, that's kind of, this is what we're expecting from Richmond, to be honest with you. This is,
Well, there was something, so I started watching this game, saw their great start. I'm like, shit, don't tell me they're going to do it again. Like, Sydney looked out of sorts. And then I wasn't watching, had to leave the house.
Yeah.
Listening on the radio. Maybe it was into the third quarter, and Richmond hadn't scored for both second and third quarters. And the commentators were saying, like, this is the longest stretch in Richmond history of without a goal or something.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, what have I missed exactly? And then obviously Sydney's put in enough goals. Not that they were, let's put the record straight as well. Sydney, considering how long Richmond didn't score a goal for, they should have won by more. It's only 44 points in the end.
Yeah, true.
Like, it could have easily been a 60, 70, 80 point win. Yeah. So they obviously played great and just got the simple things right, the pressure of the system.
Yeah, exactly right. Part of the pressure was the robotomizer, as they kept calling him.
The robotomizer.
Yeah, exactly. He had 9 in the quarter in the third. So he brought that pressure big time.
Huge.
And so did my boy Sheldrick, man. My boy Sheldrick, I think he's found his spot in there. I don't know if he's going to get displaced eventually by Callum Mills and Goulden and, whoever else comes back. But I think he's a very solid player, man,
He's had a handful of good games in the last few years. But you're right, their depth. And look, they're not as good this year. So maybe this is the year they give him the keys a little bit.
Yeah.
And let him develop instead of worrying about making prelims and whatnot. So
exactly right. Look, I'm hoping that they do they give him the keys because he'll be a big help for 3-peat and draft. So shout out to him there.
Just quickly on Richmond as well, like I echo what you say about, a couple of chirpy Richmond fans. You just sort of want them to feel the rebuild a little bit more than they
Yeah,
have
just
so
a
far.
little
Like,
bit. You know what I mean? Just feel, yeah.
a bit over dramatic start of the year.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, they're not going to hit the lows North did
No.
for now, and I'll tell you why. You still, like, every time they have a half decent showing, not that this was, but their key players are at the top still, right? Your Prestias, Tarantos, Nankovas,
Yeah.
Bolter, whatever. Those kind of guys. Like, simply,
Vlaston.
yeah.
Yeah.
As long as they've got that core there, like, don't get me wrong, it's actually the right way to rebuild. Keep the core players,
Yeah.
the aging vets, have them coach the next gen, and don't put all the load on the youngsters. So it's not a negative thing about Richmond. I actually respect it. But I think their fans were expecting them to be an absolute abomination this year. Maybe we set the tone for that.
Yeah.
But they'll be okay, and they will win a couple more games this year, I'm sure. But you just want to see from them the youngsters actually having their moments. Like, obviously now without Lawler in, that X Factor wow rookie isn't really there right now.
Yeah, it's less entertaining to actually, tune in.
But you want Jonty to, snag a goal. He had 0 goals 3 today, so you ideally just have him work on some things, train and
He
had a
looks
good game.
though. He does look good on the field. So does Sims.
Sims looks good. Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
big boy. You know what I mean? So for me, it's about those guys. Try and get what's his name? Their other top pick.
Smiley.
Yeah, try and get
Yeah.
Smiley in. Try and get the rest of the boys in and see how you go.
Yeah, no, 100%. Look, we'll move on to the next game. Geelong versus the Suns. I'll be honest with you. This game, for some reason, I just wasn't interested in watching. I don't know what it is with these two teams. I don't know. I didn't have the...
Well, they were both playing like shit. That's your answer there. Like, from my point of view, they were both... It seemed like a fast enough game. Like, more scores should have been put on the board. But this is exactly why I'm never too hot on the Suns. Case in point. Big game. Like, if they're both genuinely top 4 fancies, this should have been a better game, A, and Gold Coast should have put in a better performance.
And you'd think in rain conditions would suit some of the players that they have. Like
it needs to be dewy but not wet. That's a very crucial point.
That might be it, mate. You got it. You got me.
Humid and hot, yes. Cold and rainy, no.
Yeah.
But no, look, Stengel is in great form. I actually dropped him in draft last week because I thought I got the one-hit wonder. He did what he had to do. If I actually kept him this week, it would have been better off.
He'd be, mate. He's actually, he's playing very well. I think, they're getting a lot out of him, getting a lot out of, my boy Myers. You know what I mean? They're getting a lot of their smaller dudes' manner.
But he was the match winner, man. So, like, in that third quarter, it's a close game. There's nothing in it. He kicks 2. And then he has the sealer in the last quarter and 4 for the game. In a game where Suns themselves kick 5.
Hell,
there was just... This game was yelling out for someone to have some class and put the foot down, and it happened to be him. But overall, a pretty boring watch, to be honest with you.
Got to give some flowers to Holmesy with some of the numbers that he put up.
Oh, yeah. Stuff with that shit.
Yeah, 40 disposals, 6 score involvements. Let's have a look. What was it? Yeah, he was 860 metres gained, 10 clearances. Yeah, he's... that might be... I read somewhere, could this be like the best draft pick, of the last 25 years? Probably. Because I'm pretty sure he was in the draft. He was in the same draft as like Jamara, Will Phil. And I know it was a compromised draft year and this and that, but every other team must feel filthy that they didn't get this guy. Can you imagine, like, even
but this is the thing, right? That whole draft order was, again, so compromised because they only were going off the underage year.
Yeah.
So...
True.
Who knows what would have happened if they had a full year at it? I'm certain the order would have changed dramatically.
Yeah.
Which leads to, if your scout happened to be onto him and just keeping a closer eye on him, that's all the difference. So, but credit to him as well. Obviously, he's developed more than I think people thought he would as well. He was always going to just be like a dashing halfback, and all of a sudden he's getting 40 touches.
True. So. Yeah. No, I think the athleticism, that's something, and he seems to have a bit of footy smarts as well about him. So it's just it's a perfect mix. Yep. So now we'll move on to the game that ruined my gauntlet. Oh, you're kidding! Gauntlet is finished. And it sucks because I enjoyed the planning part of the gauntlet and all that. So now that's something that something to look forward to that I got to stop doing. GWS, you guys have no vibes. Is there a team that goes from irresistible force vibes to like 0 vibes more than this team does? Mate, it couldn't have happened any quicker. Like, Callahan goes out. I feel like it happens every year though. Yeah. No, Whitfield moves to the half forward, which is yuck. Like, it's just... I think there's problems with this team, man. There's problems with this team. Look, all of a sudden the the pressure, ramps up from other teams, and then they can't exit the back line. And that's meant to be their, their MO. I don't know, man. It's credit to Port, because they've shut down this year, as you said, irresistible team. They're not there anymore.
Yeah, well, Port as well. They've been, and we should probably expect this from Port. Like every time we think they're down, they're out, the knockout punch, they come out with a win.
Yeah,
they've done that for years. So
that is true. Look, and I guess now I think with them, you go beyond. Like they had what's it called? They've got Butters, they have Rosie, they have Wines. Now all of a sudden, the emergence of Bergman, who's one of the best players on the ground. Like
the more they can get him around the ball, the better, man. Because he can leave, and they wouldn't want him to moving into this next era. He's got to stay.
No, 100%. That's the dude. He needs to get locked in. They need to let him do what he wants to do. But he's good in the defense as well, man, because he can intercept. He's got that marking ability. He's almost like a bit of a quicker version of Dunkley. You know what I mean? A guy who can get in there, he can take overhead marks, but has pace as well. Maybe you start to compare him to like Ed Richards. Oh, no, Ed Richards has that class, that level beyond class.
He's young though, man. I've just checked now. He's almost 24 in October. So
entering the prime years now.
There's times, he can still develop into a mid, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe not a full timer, but throw him around the ball, man. Get him amongst it, because his power is great. He's strong. And that speed, man, speed kills in the AFL.
Yeah, 100%.
And if you've got it without being, a small forward, so to speak, you got it on board with proper mid-size. Yeah, that's killer.
Well, like Bergman, Butters, Rosie, and
Horn Francis,
and Horn Francis to come back. Then Wines to be the general. You know what I mean? A little bit of he goes in there. Drew as well goes in there. So it's a nice mix in our midfield.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they've been so bad to this point. To be honest with you, like it doesn't really make sense. A weird little subplot in this game was, have you seen a more inexperienced ruck battle?
I didn't pay attention, but there you go. Vicentini against Madden.
That was like, look, it didn't really matter in the end because they're both, inexperienced. Madden actually looked all right. He actually had a bit of he looked like he's similar to Briggs in that he's just a brute. He's the brute type player, but I just thought that was really weird that those like just dudes with like what? It was Madden's debut, and I think Vicentini's probably played like 5 games or something, 5-6 games.
He wouldn't have played many.
Nah, surely less than 10. He did play a few games. I don't know if it was
10,
last
he's
year.
played 10.
Oh, there you go, 10 games. Yeah. So that might be 11 games between the two main ruckmen. That might be the most inexperienced ruck battle ever. But that was very interesting. Something else happened at the end of the game because I was sitting there in my misery, just lost the gauntlet, all upset. But I got a little bit of a smile at the end because so all the boys are coming together in the rooms and they're getting ready to sing the song, right? Willie Rioli is out in the crowd. He's taking selfies. He's literally taking selfies with the crowd while all the boys are all huddled up for about 3 minutes. And everyone's just like, Where's Willie? Where's he at?
They didn't think to let go.
What's that?
They didn't let go.
They didn't. They were waiting for Willie.
That's
they were waiting for Willie the whole time. He must have done it as a joke, bro. Like, because it was legit 3 minutes. I timed it. I rewinded. I'm like, how long is this guy gonna be out there? Shout out to him for getting in touch with the fans and taking
lapping
photos.
it up.
100% lapping it up. So shout out to him for that. But at least that gave me something to. They gave me something to cheer up at the end.
That's classic.
Yeah. Now we'll go into the game that it's like he was trying to dodge it. We do have to mention Svenda. He did go to Tassie. What I heard is that he's running for Premier.
Oh, wow.
So that's why he had to go there. He had to set up a few things.
He's getting the stadium thing moving.
Yeah, 100%, man. He wants a bigger stadium.
Huge.
He wants a bigger stadium for blockbusters, against Carlton.
2 roofs. Get 2 roofs in there.
Two roofs. One of them, and a pool. We'll get a pool in there.
Yeah, do it like Gold Coast.
Yeah, exactly right, man. Dude,
ice bath.
Yeah, ice bath. Let's go all out. But anyway, look, Carlton. I don't know if it's.
I think you skipped the game. Hang on.
What's that?
I thought you were talking about North.
Oh, you're right. You know why? Because I didn't write notes for our game.
You're too angry.
I'm too angry now. Look, because I'm like, I don't really need to write notes because I know what I feel. You know what I mean? I do know what I feel.
So you were definitely angrier than me, and you had the environment to be because I was holding my daughter in my arms. It was a bit unwell. Hence the new recording location today. Yeah. So I couldn't get angry or yell because her head was right next to mine. So I was pretty chill.
Yeah,
raging, but chill.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. So you explain to me how you were going.
Angry.
Very angry.
Similar, same thing to the Carlton game where I smashed the remote. Similar to the Richmond win, where just the anxiety throughout that game. Yeah, look, the anger ended up just. It went into areas that it shouldn't have gotten anger to. You know what I mean? Like I'm saying, I'm getting angry at Sonia Hood for sending those letters. She keeps sending those letters like they're just these emails where it's just like, be patient with us. I'm like, I'm sick of patience.
The mid-year report.
Bro, yeah. I swear she sends them every like 3 weeks. I get something every 3 weeks. I didn't mind when she did them when there was, when there was stuff going on that needed to be talked about.
Of course.
Like, when when Clarko thing happened, I liked it. I'm like, thank you for showing, for giving me, an insight on what the club's doing. But I don't know, for some reason saying, oh, be patient with us, it just feels like a loser mentality to me. And in that game, up until the last quarter, we were losers. Honestly, we played like losers. There was just so many missed opportunities, so many, fumbling hand passes, kicks. How many intercepts are we letting a team without McGovern? This is a West Coast without McGovern. They're intercepting everything. We're letting Sandy Brock go and intercept. We're letting their midfield look okay. You know what I mean? A midfield of Graham, Elijah Hewitt, and who was the other? Hoff. You know what I mean? We're making that midfield look okay. It was really pissing me off. Not gonna lie, man.
Yeah.
Look, at the end of it though, like I'm feeling better about it, and I think there's some things that we can put our hat on. And I'm gonna give a shout out to the North Merchant, right, on Twitter. So he had a little list there. Sheezel CBAs, Kirch run and carry, Zerha and Curtis X Factor, Sherry dominance, Parker leading by example. To be all right. Simpkin half forward, Foss coming of age and defense. That's all very valid. That's all very valid. And when I look at that, and especially with the way the last quarter ended, and a guy like LDU sort of started it off, he was dancing around people in that first minute of that first quarter. I'm like, okay, in that last quarter, I'm like, wow, this, I don't know what it is. There's a certain, started to get cleaner in the last quarter, which I don't know why it took that long to get there, but
well, that's the question, right? And yeah, I agree with you. I will say on your reaction there to Parker, I actually definitely noticed when we started to turn a bit, he was around everything.
Okay.
Just that little bit more experience with the right handball to take in transition and so on. Like I felt like his grunt around the ball and his decision making was good.
Yeah.
He had that nice little cheeky kick to Simpkin as well for the one he missed.
Yes,
Off the side of the boot. So there was a few things he did that were like no other player in the team's doing that probably.
Yeah. True.
But no, the most infuriating, and this is the thing I'm annoyed about, man, because we're a team who hasn't been winning a lot over the past how many years. So any win should just be elation. But this year has been different. And I've said it all year. As soon as they traded the first round pick, this year had to be different. They were saying, we're not going to be giving away a top 5 pick. Basically. That's what I interpreted it as. Because if you wouldn't have done the trade. I'm sorry. Unless you think Matt Whitlock's going to be the next Jacob Wiedering, which, hey, hopefully he will.
Who knows?
But quite simply, you make that trade, you're telling your whole fan base and the AFL world, we're not going to be a bottom 5 team.
Yeah.
And the fact that we've looked like one still, despite winning a few more games and being closer.
Yeah. Well, I think was it 3.5 wins?
3.5 wins.
So we've actually beaten our last year's tally.
Correct.
Already. But still.
And yeah, I did say this a few weeks ago. Like we've definitely, when you look at the first half of last year, first half of this year, we're looking more like we did in the second half last year now.
Yeah.
So let's hope we continue to improve to be even better. But the point being, when you have that expectation set by your own club, you can't win games like this. Like, yes, the win's all that matters. I get it.
Yeah.
But last week's Richmond game, or the week before, pre-buy, and now post-buy, are two shocking performances, mostly, with obviously enough in there to win, which is so hard for me to interpret. And I'll just be honest, I was pissed off. The only time I got happy was with Simpkins' goal.
Yeah.
I got a little bit revved up when Zerha scored off the big mark. That was huge. And then the Simpkin killer was the only 2 moments in the entire game where I was actually happy. And that's stupid because we should be happy after winning a game. But such was the disgraceful performance. And I don't think I'm alone in feeling that. Like you're saying you did.
Yeah.
There was 2 quarters in the middle there, and I'll give a pass to some of the first and some of the last, which wasn't all great. Let's just call it. The middle 2 quarters was probably the worst football I've ever seen from both teams.
Crazy. Like, because we've seen so much bad footy.
There was no wet weather, no wind, just the genuine perfect condition game of footy. Worst football ever. And the only thing that had West Coast in front was their pressure was great.
Yeah.
And look, we can say they're a shit team all we want. They've been a little bit better lately. And they did bring the pressure like it was their grand final.
Yeah.
And honestly, they should have won. But they didn't. So that's the elation as a North fan, I guess, is just in the days later now, is actually thinking, hey, we won a game we wouldn't have won last year.
That's true. Yeah.
Chalk up the points, try and be better. But it's so hard to be positive. And there's a few things I want to call Clarko out on as well. And I'm a big Clarko supporter.
Yeah.
I think any talk of getting rid of him is just a joke right now. Just see it through. But
yeah, fair enough.
There's some dumb shit he did in the game. Like Wardlaw not being on ball. He only had 7 CBAs. What's that about?
It's not enough.
Sheasel on ball, you said the last quarter. It was fantastic. Why isn't he on ball for longer?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He showed it in the second half of last year. He was kicking goals, getting 30 touches. More of that, please.
He literally won us the game, man.
Yeah.
He was yeah.
Give me that and rest him forward and throw Parker in when he's resting.
Yeah,
not full time. You know what I mean? And it's just a variety of things. Now, he did get right Kircher back to halfback.
Oh,
fantastic Colby game.
Excellent, man. It was a Colby game.
Yeah.
That was a Colby game.
So it's a bit hit and miss, but the ones like the Wardlaw one's a no-brainer, man. That kid needs to be on ball.
Yeah. There's no, like, there's times if he's on the ground, there's very little places he should be. Like, he has to be a CBA mid. It was confusing to see because we're watching the game. I'm looking at, the centre balance. I'm like, I can't see him. I check on Fan Footy who has like the benches and stuff. I'm like, he's not on the bench. This doesn't make sense. He has to be in there. Like,
it's a weird one.
Anyway.
And then you've got Nick Larkey, who North fans are kind of trashing online. I did agree he had a shit game. But we can't forget what this guy's done with the worst service of all time in the last 5 years. He's literally made an all-Oz team.
Yeah.
Off no service, right? So I'm not going to crucify the guy when he has a bad game. In saying that, I would ask any North fan to send me footage of him doing something really that bad after giving good service. It really was usual shit service.
Yeah.
And not winning the contest, don't get me wrong, he should have still given a better effort. But it wasn't like he was dropping sitters. I think it was just shit service and a bad game.
Yeah.
But thankfully, man, Zerha and Curtis.
Oh, man. Curtis
crazy.
specifically. That, like, the goal from the corner, like, just...
When we were dead.
Come on, man. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that was... There was no right for that to go in footballing-wise and just momentum-wise. So that turned it around for us, man.
Yep.
He's... Man, I can't believe we really got one here. We really got one here. He's our Jamie Elliott.
Crazy. Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's the only player like I can really think a medium forward that can score goals and and make that type of an impact.
Yeah.
That can be the only one.
And I did just want to say, like, shout out to the VFL team because we've had a shit AFL and VFL team for years now.
Yeah.
It is a good sign of a team when the VFL team is playing much better. And I think they're pushing, if not in the top 4 right now.
Oh, there you go.
Will Phil, 20 touches, like 21 tackles.
Yeah,
Are you kidding me?
That 21 tackles.
He needs to be in the team, man. You got to get him in after that. If he doesn't get rewarded with the game after that, he's never playing again.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, we want to see Sheasel more in the middle. We want to see Wardlaw more in the middle. Like, where do these guys all fit?
He's got
like Tom Powell. Tom Powell has to get minutes.
At least as the sub.
Yeah,
just give me something. He's got to be in the team.
No, I'm with you.
Who was I going to shout? So Will Dawson's playing up forward. Matt Whitlock down back. So we've got 2 key pillars now developing.
Yeah. Well, one of them's going to have to come in, I think.
Possibly.
Because Combin's looking... It's either, depending on what type of injury it is, it's going to be at least 3-4 weeks. At least, if at worst, a couple months is what I'm hearing. Anyway.
And we might even get Zach Banch, our second pick in the mid-season draft, to kick 3.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
including the first 2 of the game.
Yeah, well, look, he kicked 3. Zach Fisher missed 3. So there's your pick.
Easy in and out.
There's your swap right there.
100%. And quick shout out to West Coast as well, because at one point, what were they, like 1 goal?
1 goal, 13.
13. Man, shout out West Coast. Thanks for that win, man.
Nah, cheers, man. Cheers,
appreciate
guys.
it.
Oh, that was insane. Yeah.
Yeah, back to the Blues game. So Georgie's. So you were going somewhere with the story. So he's gone off to Tassie.
Yeah, so he's going off to Tassie to be the to run for Premier. Look, if I'm going to fake my address to be a Tassie address, and I'm going to vote for him. But
he'll get it done, man. Have you seen that guy dig holes on Grand Designs?
Yes, yeah, bro can dig holes. He's ready to build a stadium. You know what I mean? He can build homes, dig holes, build stadiums. So so we'll jump into that game. Now Now with this game, I don't know. Does Carlton suck or is Essendon that plucky? Like, I don't know, man. Essendon showed something last week against Brizzy, so maybe it is something that they're actually an okay team. They've got enough there to actually show something. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like,
Essendon definitely surprised me with their resilience this year.
Yeah.
Besides the Adelaide game where they got fully pantsed, and maybe I'm missing one more.
The Bulldogs game.
Bulldogs game,
They got
yes,
really
yes, of
pantsed
course.
there. Oh my god.
So there's been a couple. So at least lately, you can at the very least say about them, they're learning in that regard on how to stay in games.
Yeah. 100%.
The problem being, you can't concede 6 goals to 1 in the first quarter. And they've consistently had bad first quarters.
Yeah.
So you can be as plucky as you want. But better first step would just be bring that thing from the beginning, be in the game, and you might... And look, they've managed to win, but it usually is against poorer teams.
Yeah.
They haven't really had a massive scalp yet. This wouldn't have been a massive scalp, but given the context of the game, it would have felt like a huge win.
Yeah.
And they did have it, man. They... which one was it? I feel like they had a moment where someone missed a bad shot, or I can't remember exactly now, but
I can't think of the
mustn't have even got it behind because it's not coming up on the score thing. But there was a few swings in the game where it was like, this is the moment. Actually, sorry, it was the Motlop miss. Other way around, they did punish it. So Motlop misses, could have iced the game. They would have been up 4 goals, and then Martin, Dersma, and then the momentum was there to get the one more, but they just couldn't do it.
But look, no, you got a little bit of credit where credit's due for them at least. But again, we only like them when they lose.
I love when Essendon fights and then loses.
Yeah.
Flowers to the Essendon.
100%, man. Let's keep it that way. Nice to see Parrish get his run. You know, that's like when I saw him, like that's a sight for sore eyes, man. This is a former All-Australian we're talking about. He looked a little bit rusty, but at least, you know, he doesn't. It's not like he's forgotten how to play football. He still knows what he's doing. So that was cool to see him out there. For Carlton, the debutant, I thought we were going to give him a little shout out as well. I like the fact that he took like 3 or 4 contested marks, even though I don't think he ended up getting a goal. Unfortunately, he did have a miss, you know, from about 50 meters, so he got close. But I thought that he was very solid. And my boy, Sam Doherty, playing the Doherty role. Can you believe it? Doherty in the Doherty role.
See, this is the thing, man. Like, it does frustrate me a lot when you've clearly got a good player who's any fan can look at and say, yeah, if you're to see Doherty playing well, what's the role? It's this. So why does it take such a hard start to the year to start moving pieces in the right direction? Surely you know that internally.
Yeah, no, of course. Look, I think the thing is with him is that he was playing on the wing. That is the position where you don't have much time to think when you're on the ball. You don't have much time to fumble and, you know, gather. Because look, even in the current role that he's at, you can see that he's still slow. When the ball's at his feet, it's almost like he can barely bend over and pick it up sometimes. But the fact that he's playing the half-back role and he's someone who, you know, is part of the chain and not the first at it, it makes more sense. It makes more sense. You can manage that. You can manage to be a little bit slower, you know what I mean? And a little bit, you know, not as clean picking it up and, you know, having that quickness if you're playing a role like this. It's not like all of a sudden it's not like his actual running is too bad. So at least he still has that. I thought Hollands also had a good game as well. He provided a lot of drive. I thought that was fine.
Dersma impressed me as well. It was 100th game. He gave it everything. His aerial coverage was really a standout. They were calling it out in the commentary as well, but he was pretty reckless in the air. Putting his body on the line, which you don't really think of when you think of Xavier Dersma. So credit to him. Look, they did everything they possibly could from the second quarter onwards.
Yes,
to win that game, and they threw everything at it, and that's a credit to them. But credit to Carlton also in the way they started that game. It looked like prime 2 years ago Carlton post-bye. Now the trouble with that is they can't keep up that intensity the whole game, and they never have. It's always been a quarter or 2 spurt where they just blow teams away. And they got it out of the way early. And then, unfortunately for them, they let the Bombers back into it. So the Carlton challenge really is, if you're going to be a good team for a half and blow teams away, what are you doing in that other half?
Yeah, how can you mitigate, you know,
get back to that
influx of scoring the other way?
Because the blueprint, sorry for the irony there, the misspeak, the blue.
Yeah.
The cue for the Blues is they need to be the way they were 2 years ago. Defense first, and then explode. If you're going to do this explode and then fade, that's clearly not your go. So try your best to do that, but I'm not confident in it. And I don't think Carlton fans are either.
They can't be, man. They can't be.
Yeah.
Look, a couple of things that I've got written down that I want to get out. The Akers goal from like literally where the 50-meter line meets the boundary was insane. That's on the run. That was unbelievable goal. He deserves that. What's it called? Williams did all right. A couple goals, couple goal assists. He had that moment where, he celebrated with the crowd, which was nice. Curious your thoughts. Chera, the concussion stuff with Chera, like that
got to come off and get checked, surely.
Yeah, 100%. Like it took way too long. It was good that they cleared it, but I'm curious, like who decided not to bring him off, and then who decided no, we have to bring him off.
Well, this isn't the first time the Carlton staff has done this. Remember last year the Harry Mackay incident against North?
Yes.
Where he stayed on, kicked a goal,
and then afterwards
and
it was
then
delayed.
came off.
Yeah, and then afterwards it was delayed concussion.
So they've been doing this more than once now.
Yeah.
That's the only two I can think of. But as far as I'm concerned, if an incident like that happens, take the guy off.
Yeah, 100%.
And just check him out 5 minutes, see what's going on. Why do you have to watch the tape to then decide if you want to even check him? If you're watching tape, that suggests, hey, you probably just want to check him.
Nah, that's true. That's true, yeah.
There's something to see.
Yeah. No, so maybe they thought to themselves, he's probably all right, but look, maybe we'll just do it just in case. We got to take him off now just in case, we get, investigated. You know what I mean? I think they kind of brought attention to it now. So it's like even more attention was brought to it when they, actually brought him off and did the test. So anyway, weird one.
Yep.
Caddy off the ground assist as well. That dude just does some freaky stuff, bro. He just does some freaky.
He's a very unorthodox player.
100%, man. I think part of it's like instinct, luck, but like, I don't know. You got to put yourself into the position to, make those type of plays, man. And he does it,
Well, if the ball's on the ground and you don't have time to pick it up, you're going to do a soccer. You may as well do it.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Most players would just pick it up, embrace the tackle, get a stoppage. That's boring.
No, that's true.
Soccer it off the ground, anything can happen.
Exactly right. Like, and when your back's to the goals, instead of hand passing it to one of your teammates, just kick it over your head.
Why not, man?
You know what I mean? Keep it interesting. A bit of flair. Yeah. Now, last game, a banger to end the round. Banger to end the round, man. That was just, especially that last quarter. I didn't expect Melbourne to get this far into the game. I just thought it was going to drop off. You probably saw my message in the group chat. How long does this last for? Because we know as North supporters in the North game against Collingwood, they just smashed us right at the end after we were in the game. But Melbourne did it right, man.
Well, the difference in what Melbourne did versus what North failed to do was Melbourne was happy to embrace the chaos ball a little bit more than North was.
Yeah.
Go straight up the ground, kick it to a contest in the center of the ground. Why not?
Exactly.
Barrel it into a dangerous area and then sort of push up and squeeze. So because they did that, they got a lot of reward. But then also Collingwood's happy to play that game as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And look, the scary thing for me is Melbourne couldn't have played much better in terms of a pressure game. And Collingwood still found a way to kick a winning score. So it's kind of like, geez, you can be as brave as you like, unless you get it maybe a bit luckier in terms of a couple free kicks here and there or accuracy. This team can still hang in there and beat you, no matter what kind of game you throw at them.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Look,
what do you make of the Dacos tag? He got 5 frees 4. I've got to be honest. If you're going to blatantly hold him, you're going to get a couple given away. There was a couple softer ones, I understand.
Yeah.
It was a hard tag, though. You can tell Dacos hated Langdon. Like, I've never seen someone getting tagged as angry as Nick Dacos was today.
It was similar to like the Finn McGuinness of last year or the year before, that type of vibe.
But he was pissed today.
He did super well, man. He did super well, Langdon, to try to, get under his skin. Look, it just kind of worked out harshly for him that, Cozzy gave away a goal to Dacos. So all of a sudden, Dacos looks like he has a decent game. Also, like, there was a free kick right at the end as well. Even though Dacos didn't put it in, it would have made Langdon, like, his job look even worse. But
that was
a slight, the soft, touch in the back.
Guess how many disposals Langdon had? Mind you, he's playing on ball against Dacos the whole game.
All right, so Dacos had about like 18, 19, right? Langdon himself, I don't know if he barely touched it, right?
Just have a guess.
What? I can't.
It's a low number.
What, 3?
4. 4 disposals. When you're around the ball for that long, it says it all.
Well, look, here's the thing. It worked. Like, you have this dude around the ball. It's just like, okay, we're just going to let Track, Oliver, and then Cozzy when he comes in off, the half forward line or off the wing, whatever. We'll make it work. Just Crazy. Langdon, you just make, keep Dacos as accountable as you can. Hey, it's not the worst strategy, man.
Hilarious. But no, there was some pretty big performance. Like Max Gawn, unstoppable. But in saying that, Cameron had a good game as well.
Yeah, he did.
Did everything he could.
Yeah, look, Cameron does his usual, pretty much his version of Gawn. It's like Gawn light on the other end of the ground and taking contested marks and, intercepting. I think, I feel like Georgie brings it up a lot, that he's intercepting stats. Crazy.
Yep.
So, he's sort of, I feel like he's sort of mirroring what Gawn does in that regard. Pendles there was a moment in the game, I think it was in the second, and actually there was probably two of the coolest goals of the game was Cozzy's off the ground was crazy. And that one off the ground, and it was after Josh Dacos accidentally gave away he tried a toe poke to Ed Allen and he sort of stuffed it up, and then all of a sudden the other way, a toe poke off the ground, Cozzy
gave him the idea.
Rolls it in, gave him the idea. And then straight after that, Pendles gives one of those, fake hand passes in the centre bounce, gives it to Bo McCreary, and Bo McCreary, friend of the pod, finishes it off nicely. So that was a couple crazy moments in the game. There was a few of those, to be honest with you. Yeah. Even Track did a Wellesley assist, to Cozzy for one of his goals. It was like...
That's what I'm saying. Like, both teams were happy to play a bit more of a chaos brand. Like, I was seeing a lot of long handballs, like just things you don't often see in a footy game.
Gutsy stuff,
risky, maybe not always needed. I did want to shout out as well, Simon Goodwin, right? So I gave him a lot of shit earlier in the year, rightfully so. He's done two things, like this tag that we spoke about, Langdon on Dacos. He's not always a tagger, but he did a job. Seemed to work for the most part.
Yeah.
Also the Melksham defensive forward thing that he's got going on.
That's working.
It's working, right? Yeah. He had him on Darcy Moore. Did a decent job. Probably maybe should have shifted to Jeremy Howe at some point because he had a great game.
Yeah, you're right.
But the point being, he's trying stuff, and the team seems rejuvenated, playing a bit more of an attacking brand within their means anyway. So they're still relying a lot on Pickett, Fritsch, those usual guys. It would be lovely if Van Rooyen kicked on and had a good of a year as he did last year or the year before, whichever was his better year. I can't remember, but they need something clearly. But he's at least tried. He's seen like, look, this isn't working. And there's been a response. So that's all you can ask for.
Yeah. Look, there's that he's done well. He's moved Daniel Turner back and he's been fantastic. I feel like probably should have shouted him out earlier in the year, but no, he's looking really good, man. I feel like that's their long-term, key position defender, after May and Lever.
Yep.
So I guess it leaves Petty, the $1 million man, to play forward. And speaking of $1 million man, I don't really know how that really links to him, but Bailey Fritsch
that doesn't link to him at all.
No, it doesn't link to him at all. But he had a great game. He had a nice kick into the 50 where he hit the $1 million man Petty. Maybe that's where the link is. I can't remember if Petty scored it or not, but I was so enamored by the assist. I'm like, it doesn't even matter. And he kicked some clutch goals as well. You know what I mean? Like there was one in particular. I'm trying to think. I'm starting to get blank. But no, I remember his 3 goals were clutch moments and they were nice goals as well.
He's been such an important player for them and then just lost form completely over the last sort of year and a bit.
Yeah, he's been a sub at some point this year. You know
if he's up and about, you got Pickett up and about, that's enough sort of danger. You got younger guys like Thorstrip in there and Malcolm doing a job. There's enough there to cause some problems to most teams. But the issue being when you're playing the better teams like today, credit to you, you played out of your skin, pressure was high.
Look at you, mate. Top of the draft.
Top of the draft league. Hey, look, it is what it is.
Shout out to me for allowing that to happen.
Shout out to.
Can we just have a look quickly? The points scored. I'm clear by 300, brother.
Yeah, too bad you're not first, man.
Fair call. But look, what it shows is the boys, they're coming.
No.
The three-peat is on track. I think it's well and truly on track.
I've been heavily injured, but that's okay. I'm still first.
Man, heavily injured, bro. Hayden Young, who I've dropped and then since brought back. Look at this. Did you see one of my picks that I brought in last minute?
Zach, I did see that. That's wild of you. Zach Fisher, anyway.
Here's the thing with that. I thought that there was a chance he might play halfback with Sheasel playing midfield.
Okay, fair risk.
And then I'm like, you know what? I know what he can do at halfback. if he does it,
I'm very glad that didn't happen.
no, same. You know what? Same, because it was Colby.
Yeah.
And, that's what it needed to be. It needed to be Colby halfback.
100%.
Anyway.
All right, let's get into... So, St Kilda Freo had the bye. We move on to next week.
Yeah.
Round 14. 4 teams have the bye. Collingwood, Suns, Tigers, Swans. So, Thursday night footy, Saints v Dogs.
Saints v Dogs. Ooh, we got to go Dogs, but it's getting to the point they need to win everything at this point, and it'd be hard to tip St Kilda against them, to be honest with you.
This has potential to be a very boring game, or actually quite a fun game, depending on which St Kilda shows up.
Yeah, true. Depending on where they sort of put their their pieces as well. But
exactly, I'll go Dogs as well. Hawks v Adelaide in Tassie.
That's a huge game.
Hawks rarely lose in Tassie.
But Adelaide are in such fine form, and the odds kind of show.
I'm going to go Hawks in Tassie.
Yeah, look, I'll go Hawks as well, but let the record show that.
That's my thing.
Brizzy at the Gabba versus the Giants. We got to go Brizzy because the Giants are.
But here's the thing,
no
though,
vibes.
That's the thing, no vibes. But like I said before, they're a team more than any in the league that can go from no vibes to wow, orange tsunami within like a week, right? So let the record show. I'm expecting an orange tsunami, but I'm still tipping Brisbane.
They need the tsunami needs to come out, man. Essendon versus Geelong at the MCG. It's got to be the Geelong.
It says brave Essendon loss written all over it.
100%. I look forward to praising some of their young talent. I'm going to plan it from now. Who am I going to praise? I'm going to go with Angus Clark. I'll talk him up next week.
We're due for a Kako game as well.
Yeah, maybe mate, we've been due for a Kako game since, the preseason. Like when's his good game going to happen?
True.
Anyway.
Small forwards, it's hard to have an impact sometimes.
True. North versus Freo. Look, I'm going to be mature and go Freo, but it's a game we need to win, man. This is the type of game that'll give me belief. We go and beat Freo.
The interesting thing is no team has stayed in Perth and basically acclimatized because we're there now for almost 2 weeks. So,
True.
Look, I don't know what that means. All I'm saying is the vibes should be better. Hopefully we play better, but I'm definitely not tipping us.
Fair enough. Look, the interesting thing is that apparently with Perth, right, or Western Australia, apparently the second largest contingent of North fans is actually over there.
Yeah.
Because of the Cracker brothers, and I think it was Glenn Denning as well. There was a few different players, and now it's kind of moved on. It's become Zerha, Zach Fisher, Griffin Logue. Let's just go with the first one because the first one's the only one who actually I like. But yeah, we've got a few.
I've got Hardiman as well.
Hardiman, yeah, actually you're right. No, so it's there's a few. There's a bit of Western Australian vibes. Look, I hope Logue can be good. I've kind of lost hope for Fisher. I was such a stern backer and believer of Fisher. After that game, come on, bro.
Look, he missed the shots, but part of me is like, well, look, he was actually looking dangerous.
Yeah, it's true.
If he scores any one of those, he's the hero. So
you're right.
I'm saying that he didn't, so he's not.
That's the thing.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah. See, this is his week. Score the winner against Freo, and I forgive you. Unless he gets dropped for bench, which is a possibility.
That'd be fine.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that too. Port versus Melbourne. Adelaide. That's interesting because they're two lower end of the table teams who've just come off good performances.
I'm going to go Melbourne. I think they showed a lot today.
Yeah, I'll join you with Melbourne. I'll join you with the Melbourne tip, mate. Because there's only two of us and only one team goes up on the board when I do the editing. I'm just going to agree with whoever goes first. I'm agreeing. Next game, West Coast
against Carlton.
Yeah, you have to agree. Nah. Look, can't happen. Like that. It'd be funny if Carlton lost this, but they shouldn't.
Look, let's be clear. It can happen.
Yeah. Well, look, it almost happened against us, and it's not like Carlton are an incredibly better team than us this year. They haven't shown it.
For me, the thing is, West Coast has had some good moments against the likes of your Brisbane's, and a couple like obviously they beat the Saints over in Perth. So there's a couple warning signs there. In saying that, Carlton has to be very clear favourites.
Yeah, 100%.
But I'm a little bit... They usually beat up on the shit teams. This is one thing Carlton's been good at.
Yeah.
Is just bullying. But I'm just reserving a little bit of caution to Georgie who's listening right now. Don't get too confident.
I will say he's a very calm Carlton supporter. Like recently, I feel like... I don't know if it's always been like this, but in recent years, he's...
We did say in the chat pre-game, there's no way Carlton loses with those ins. That was a direct quote from George.
Okay,
and they almost did, in fact, lose. So he's got to be careful. Just calm down, George.
No, fair enough.
No, I love you, George.
Yeah, anyway, look, I think we'll finish it off there. Unless you got any concluding thoughts, any little stories, any experiences you want to bring up?
Any stories? Oh yeah, just the whole selling games thing. So
yeah, and there was someone who commented it in on our video from last week.
Oh, there you go.
So shout out. I'll bring it up if I can.
Yeah, go for it.
Shout out. So we just do a little shout out, but you talk about
Yeah. My main thing with this is every time a team sold a game, like Melbourne selling their game and then losing. Was it Melbourne in Alice Springs?
Yeah.
Like say North had lost this game, you can't possibly begrudge these teams who, for one reason or another, they're just a smaller club. They've not had success. They're not getting the crowds in that the big teams are. Where's all that money? It's a business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like we love our team, but the team has to make money and actually function.
Yeah.
So if the way to function is to play 2 games away from home, when you'd ideally not be doing that.
Yeah.
My main point being like, don't blame that as the reason why Melbourne lost or why maybe North might have lost. Like if they're good enough, they'll win. Simple as that, as far as I'm concerned. We got a comment here?
Yeah. So it was Dench. I don't know how to pronounce that. DNCE89. Denche. So Denche selling a game to Tassie or NT isn't a big deal because it's a neutral game. Selling a game to WA against West Coast is not right for the comp. Shouldn't be allowed. I get where he's coming from. The fact that we're giving it away as an away game, but I think you've got a pretty decent little response there. The fact that we need to do something to make money.
Look at the money we're getting. Apparently, they're getting more from these 2 games than they would get from 4 in Tassie.
Well, there you go.
So bang for your buck.
That says it all. And you know what? It means more home games in Melbourne for us.
And look, that was obviously before the actual game happened. I was very surprised and happy to see how many North fans were actually there. So it probably wasn't any much more than 60-40 West Coast way, which is very good from a North contingent point of view.
Yeah, 100%. And he actually, I will say, he ended the comment with great show, boy. So shout out to you, man.
Thanks, Denche.
Appreciate that. Another comment, have to review the footage on the hangar. Don't think it was me underneath him, from Chris Michaels.
Are we going back to the Malcolm?
Yeah, back to the Malcolm thing. Look, man. Look, who commented? And then shout out Zumi said, don't talk yourself out of this one. Maybe Zumi's just made it up, bro. I don't know.
Look, if there is footage, all the happier to see it. Don't get me wrong. Send it in. We won't post it.
No. Look, no, we might.
We'll be the judge.
100%. But that was. Look, shout out to those boys. Shout out to Chris and Zumi for giving us a little.
To be fair to Chris, Malcolm's just jumped on. He had a specky today against. Might have been like Howe or Moore, one of those guys. He jumped over their head.
Yeah, well, there you go.
So if he's doing that to AFL players, like Chris, you had no chance, man. Like,
that's it. That is true. Maybe that was the moment where Chris lost his confidence and all of a sudden his draft stocks just declined.
It's the equivalent of like
the beginning of the end.
It's like when someone says, "I would have made it had I not done my knee."
Exactly.
Chris would have made it if he didn't get specked on
by Jake Belcher of all people. Anyway,
good email.
Anyway. Appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.
Bye.